Okay, well, welcome everybody. I hope you're all having a great Saturday. It's March the 1st, and we have a special presentation that we're doing tonight. And it's all about the spring equinox. And we're going to touch on Purim a little bit later um, during our presentation. But let's first talk a little bit about spring equinox. Many ancient cultures and some not so ancient cultures mark the spring equinox as the beginning of the year. It was certainly the Zoroastrian New Year and is still the Persian New Year. And they celebrate Nowruz, and I believe it's a 13-day holiday with its fantastic litany of celebrations. And the Bible told us that this was the ancient first day of the year for the newly freed Hebrew slaves when they left Egypt. In fact, we talked about it in this week's Torah commentary. And Passover is coming up, and it's celebrated on the full moon of the month, and this year that'll be on April the 15th. So the new moon, if you count backwards, will be on March 30th. And I believe we'll actually be doing a presentation that night on March 30th, and that'll be on the twin festivals of freedom, Easter and Passover. And that's a fabulous refresher on how to free yourself from whatever holds you back. And then on April 29th, one of my all-time favorite presentations, a special presentation on dreams, biblical dreams, personal dreams, all about how to interpret dreams. Don't miss any of these, my friends. They're going to be great. But tonight, we're going to talk a little bit about the spring equinox. And it's a Latin word, equinox, meaning equal night, which occurs annually on the 20th of March. And then equinox, because, equal night meaning equal amount of day and an equal amount of night. It only takes place twice a year when there is this balance between light and dark. The other time of the year when there's an equinox is at Libra. One is the spring equinox, which is now, the other is the fall equinox, which is the Libran one. And Libra, of course, as we know, is the month of karmic judgment, and that's the month where we have the 10 days of introspection between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Both of these involve a choice, and it's a very important and a very significant choice. Will you live in the light, or will you live in the dark? That's the choice. And it's, during this period of balance, so we have an opportunity. We're half in light, half in dark. Which do we want to spend our year living in? Now, traditionally, the first day of spring used to, because it's a calendar that moves, but, when it didn't, every X number of years, would coincide with the Hebrew New Year. And it's a little bit different when it takes place on the Hebrew New Year. But the first day of spring is something that always comes to mind for people. It's not about, baseball season. It's about spring cleaning. And spring cleaning is this removing of the old to make way for the new. And we still do it. We do it today. These days we're all cooped up because we've had the most miserable winter that you can imagine. So we're all anxious to get out. We're all anxious to, welcome in spring and clean things up. And when spring rolls around, it's about determining the imprint of the direction of your life for the year. And you get to make a choice every year. And it coincides back in ancient times with the Big Bang, or what they called the lightning bolt of creation. And creation is all about manifestation. We manifest things in our lives. And manifestation is about transformation, because we know that energy can't be destroyed. It can only be transformed into something else. So creation is about manifestation, and manifestation is from transformation. And both stem from desire. And desire puts things in motion. And without motion, you're not going to create anything. And we're going to talk about how to create the year you want. That's really what tonight's topic is. And man as a creator is nothing new. We had Moses, who we're going to read a little bit more about in the coming months, and how the manna from heaven was a miracle. Now, God provided it, but, people traditionally have attributed this to a Moses miracle. We all know the stories about Jesus and the loaves and the fishes and the wine. So man has always been a creator. And in today's own day and age, we have Sai Baba, who manifests gold and ash. All people are capable of manifesting. All people are capable of creating. It's just most people don't believe that they're capable of doing it, and so that they don't. But we're going to talk about how to create your own world, because you have an opportunity every year to create the kind of year you want and the kind of life that you want. And the easiest way to do it, my friends, is to follow the four elements that were a part of creation. That's what points to the divine spark in each of us. And those four elements, you all know them. Fire, which represents your will or your desire. Air, which is your mind, your mental capability of working something out. Water is the heart, it's how you feel about something. And earth is the body or the action. And so if you have all four of those things in any kind of a project, you will succeed at that project. And what's interesting is the ancient Kabbalists had a special view about this time of the year, and especially about the first day of the year. And that first day of the year, whether it occurs on the spring equinox or not, it is coming up. In this case, it's going to be March 30th. And what it was the first 12 days to the Kabbalists represented the 12 months of the year. And it was all about putting the energy into each of those days to represent what each of those months represents in somebody's life. And when you do this, it's basically undergoing this like whirlwind journey of a 12-day ride on a roller coaster that takes you through the energy of the tree of life and everything that's around. So we're going to quickly run through what these 12 days are. The first day, which, like I said, it starts on March 30th, and we have a booklet that's available. If you email us, we'll be happy to send you the booklet that outlines all the stuff that we're going to be talking about tonight. Okay, so we have the first day represents the month of Aries, and Aries is the first day of balance. It's the equinox, but it's all about potential, and it's about creation, and it's about initiating things. So during that day, you want to initiate new projects because it sets your year ahead for creation of new things. And it's also a time that we need to start to exhibit a little bit of patience in our lives. The second day is represented by the month of Taurus because don't forget, in the ancient world, the zodiac and the months were the same. So they didn't say, hey, this is February, this is March, this is April. They simply said each month based upon which sign of the zodiac it was. So in this case, the second day is Taurus. And Taurus is a very famous pictorial sign, and in ancient times you would see it because its iconography was the unification of the sun and the moon. And you would often see that where you would see like bull horns with a round circle in the middle, and that would be the bull horns would represent the moon and the circle would represent the sun. I don't have a prop. I should have thought about that and had a prop for tonight. But that's what it would be. So you'll see an awful lot of iconography from the period that shows the unification of the sun and the moon, and that is all about pointing to Taurus. And Taurus represents our sense of security. Whether it's money or other things, it's all about security because it relates to our values. What do we value in life? And what are our feelings about those things? And are we detached from them or are we attached to them? And so on that second day, you want to do something that examines what your values are. The third day is the day of Gemini, which is the day of communications. It's about mental agility, and it's about the choices that we make in life. And it's about how we focus on things. It's all about communication. It's all about siblings. It's about how you channel your mind energy. The fourth day is Cancer, and Cancer represents the emotions. It's about holding on. What do we hold on to? It's about protection. What do we need protection from? It's about our home. It's about mother. And it's about discernment, which can often be dogmatic. And so on a Cancer day, it's a wonderful day to, call your mother and say, Mother, how are you? I miss you. I love you. It's about taking stock of your home. What changes do you need to make in your home? Are you happy with your home? Is there anything you really need to do? Our next day is about learning to live life to the fullest, and it represented the day of Leo, which was the ancient sign of wisdom and knowledge. And it stood for love, and it stood for life, and it stood for creativity and family. And it's all about humility, because quite often we can find that, during the time of Leo, our egos get in the way, and we become a little bit of the egomaniac side. We next move on to the day of Virgo, and Virgo was the great detective. Virgos are fabulous at ferreting things out. But it's also the day about healing, and it's about helping. And it's probably the most significant period of time for helping. And it's when you have to decide whether you're going to commit to helping others or not. And if you commit to helping others, you will be called upon to help. So you really must be there. It's a fabulous day to have introspection. Take a close look at who you are, what you are. And it's about learning to have tolerance. And these are the first 6 days, of the 12-day period, and they mark the first 6 months of your year. And they tend to be about the personal things that take place. The second 6 days tend to mark more of the things that happen in our social spheres and our interaction with other people. So we start the second half when we have Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur with Libra. It's the second of the equinoxes, and it's all about the second time that we balance. And this time we're balancing the scales of justice. We've just gone through 6 months, my friends, where maybe we've leaned a little bit too far one way or the other, and we can see where those scales are coming in. And it may be time for us to reevaluate where we are. So it's all about balance, and it's about judgment. It's a time to take a look at the karma that you've created, and the karma that you're burning off. One of my favorite pictures, and you can all Google it and take a look. It's a very famous papyrus. It's called the Papyrus of Ani. And I believe it's in the Louvre. And most people are familiar with it. They've seen it. They just don't know that's what it was the Papyrus of Ani. And you will see scales. And on one side of the scale would be a heart, and on the other side would be a feather. And underneath would be a crocodile or another monster that, would be waiting to see how it was. And to the ancient Egyptians, they would measure your heart against the weight of a feather to determine how much karma you had created or had gotten rid of in this lifetime. And it's a fantastic picture that really gives you a great idea. And the goal was your heart had to be lighter than a feather for you to be clean and in effect to move on. So it's all about your karma, and it's about the time that we take assessment of ourselves. And that's why Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, it's those 10 days of introspection. It's those 10 days that take place during the second period of equal day and equal night. And it's a time for us to be decisive in our lives. The next day after that is the day of Scorpio. Scorpio is a relentless day, and it's about transformation. Some people view it as the day of death, but it's about how we transform ourselves. It's a day that represents sex, and it's a day that's intensity. And everything about it is intense. And it's a day in which we need to practice forgiveness. The next day, Sagittarius, which is the sign of the Noahic covenant with man. And the Noahic covenant, of course, was the rainbow. It's also the first combination sign of the zodiac. And it's all about philosophy, and it's about higher learning. It's about the thirst for knowledge that we all have. And it's a time where we may have to learn to exercise restraint. So it may be the perfect day for you to go and register for a course, or find something else that you are interested in doing. It's all about this thirst for knowledge that we all have. We then move on to Capricorn, which is the second of the combination signs. And Capricorn is a sign that traditionally has represented fear. And one of the reasons it represents fear is because it takes place during the darkest time of the year, when light is at its shortest. And so we're surrounded by darkness. And when we're surrounded by darkness, we become more afraid of things. And fear, of course, is something that we create from within ourselves. and it comes from within out. So it's about fear, it's about our career. We often will take stock of, are we doing what we really want to be doing? It's the month that's ruled by authority figures and father, and it's about sociability. So just like Cancer was the month in which you may want to call your mother and say hello, Capricorn is the day that you may want to do something for your father. We then move on to Aquarius. Aquarius, of course, is that new age of man that we're either in or about to be in. From the famous play Hair, where it's the dawning of the age of Aquarius. And Aquarius is all about a higher perspective of life. It's about celestial knowledge. And Aquarius acts as this conduit of celestial knowledge, so that we're all more in touch with what we're meant to be doing. It's about our hopes, our dreams, our friends, our wishes. And it's a time for us to be exhibiting warmth. So it's a time for you to take stock of who your friends really are. It's a time for you to take a look and say, hey, what are the wishes of your life, and have you been fulfilling them? We move on to the last day of the year, and the last day is Pisces. And Pisces represents everything that's hidden under the surface. It's about our subconscious. It's about our psychic abilities. It's the month that represents dreams, and it represents perseverance, and it marks the end of a cycle because it's the last month of the cosmic year. Joseph of the 12 sons represented Pisces. Each of the 12 sons represented a sign of the zodiac. And Joseph represented Pisces. And of course, Joseph was the dream master. And Pisces, of course, is the sign of dreams. And we have a booklet available. Like I say, if you send an email, we'll be more than happy. It outlines the 12 days or the 12 steps to a better year. And if you email us, you will get a copy of it. And what it will tell you to do is it'll give you a suggestion of things you can do on each of those 12 days to create the kind of year you want. So we start the year like an artist looking at a blank canvas. How do you want to imprint your will on that canvas? Because that's your opportunity, and of course you get this opportunity on an annual basis. So think about it, my friends, and send for the booklet, and in it you will be told. Oh, somebody's handing me a note. I actually already said this the first day, the spring equinox, which is March 20th. So you have a choice. A true Kabbalist would probably wait until March 30th to do the first day of Nisan. But a lot of other people will use the spring equinox. But I leave it up to you. I believe you should be using the spring equinox because that's when it's measured from, because that's the day of equal light and dark. But if you're a traditionalist, you may want to go with when the actual beginning of the year is. But March 20th would be your first day. And like I say, each of the days represents something, and we will give you in this booklet a list of things. I thought somebody was handing me the booklet in which we could take a look, but unfortunately it was just a note that I'd already said was March 20th. The other thing we wanted to briefly talk about tonight is the fact that Purim is coming up. And Purim is coming up on March 16th, so it's in a couple of weeks. And Purim is a miracle holiday. And it's the story told in the book of Esther. And it commemorates the deliverance of the Jewish people in ancient Persia, when the Grand Vizier Haman planned to kill all the Jews in the empire, but his plans were foiled by Esther, who had now become the queen of Persia, and her uncle Mordecai. And it's a day of feasting and celebrating, and it's a holiday in which you're supposed to just go wild and have a fabulous time. And you eat special foods, and there's gift giving, there's special prayers that are said, and there's additional prayers that are said for the evening Thanksgiving prayers after a meal. There is always a public reading of the scroll of Esther, which is known as the Kreit HaMegillah. So if you get a chance, I would encourage you all to go and hear the Megillah read out loud. It's also a holiday of drinking. Um, when I, you know, studied all those years ago and continue to, everybody would get together at the temple, and it would be you would study Torah all night long, and you would drink all night long. It became a drinking holiday, and it's about wearing masks and costumes. It's kind of like the equivalent of the Jewish version of Halloween. A little bit different, but people dress up in whatever costume they want to dress up as. It's a wonderful festive time, and I encourage you all to take full advantage of it. Go to a reading of the Megillah if you get a chance, because it's a wonderful thing. And in fact, last year I saw a new movie that had just come out. It's not so new because I saw it last year, called The Book of Esther, or The Story of Esther. And it tells the story, and it tells it beautifully. I don't remember it being in the theater. I got it on a DVD one night, and I was quite surprised by it, and I was actually quite impressed. So if you get a chance, go and rent or download the Book of Esther, because I think you'll all enjoy it. Anyhow, I want to thank you all for joining me this evening for the quick highlights of what the new year is going to be. And we say it's the new year because the new year does begin in March, and it does begin for all of you annually on every spring equinox. You have a chance to alter your year, just like you have a chance to take full stock of who you are every year at Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. This is your chance to create your year in the spring. So in the spring you create it, and in the fall you evaluate it. It's fabulous that way. You don't have to wait until the end of time. So every year you get this wonderful opportunity. Thank you all for joining me. I hope you continue to join us weekly, and make sure you join us at the end of the month for our Festival of Freedom celebration. And thank you all, and have a wonderful evening and a wonderful spring. Bless you.